Hey, what's up, friends and fam? It's Tina with the High Ground, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're sharing our movie review of Civil War, an A24 movie which takes place in a dystopian future America. We follow a team of military-embedded journalists racing against time to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. Listen in as we sit in our car right after watching and talk about Civil War. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, we'd love to make more friends on here and talk movies with y'all. Now please enjoy our movie review. We just got out of watching Civil War.
Directed by Alex Garland, who has famously directed Ex Machina, 28 Days Later, and now I think in that echelon of great movies in his repertoire, he can add Civil War.
Absolutely. It stars some really great cast. Kirsten, Dunst,
Wagner, Moura,
Haley Spaney, Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
A great cast. A great cast. And they did great. I'm honestly still processing this movie. What I really liked about how they're telling us the story, they don't tell us why. Why this is happening. They don't tell us what built this Civil War, what the series of events
what was
that
the
led up to
point?
this. And honestly,
I think that's for the better.
Yeah, I didn't care that they didn't tell us. Because honestly, reality kind of tells us why that would happen. I couldn't help but think, like, the story and how it's being presented is no different than our current, modern times. Like, so I genuinely thought, like, I'm glad they're not telling us. Because in reality, I can make up my own reasons based on our own history alone. So I really like that. We follow these journalists who are military journalists, basically.
Wartime
journalists, and it's such an interesting point of view.
I think what the best part of it for me is that it's a neutral point of view, right?
Totally.
They're out there just to capture the images of what's going on. They're not really trying to tilt a story left or right or however. They're just there to take action shots of what's going on.
And the characters are very interesting to follow. Like, the main photographer that we follow
is Lee,
Kirsten Dunst's character. Lee is it seems like so disconnected with any kind of empathy or emotion that it was interesting to see her own point of view and, like, how she commented on certain things she was seeing, and then how others would react to her, like saying these, like, very objective, very upfront and direct, like, brutal, sometimes very brutal comments about what they were experiencing. And so I like that the characters around her were kind of this balance, right? They were trying to balance out this very cold person. And so
and they did give a reason of why she was very cold, right?
They did. It was very interesting, I think, to also follow Joel, because he wasn't a photographer. He was a journalist.
Yeah, I think he's a writer.
But I love to see how, like, experienced he was. Like, he was also willing to take on this apprentice, Jesse. Haley Spaney plays Jesse, and she was kind of this apprentice type, character. And then you have your older veteran with Stephen McKinley Henderson. So you have, like, a spectrum of characters, a generational spectrum, which is cool because, like, what kid, like, what teenager out there wants to be a wartime photographer,
Yeah.
So I really like the characters. I also liked their progression. Some of them had more than others.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of tension building. The group dynamic was very good. Like, you've really started to catch the vibe with them from right the jump, right? Like you were saying, we have the cold, I've been through some shit, and then the one who kind of just makes a joke out of it because he's also been through a lot of stuff, right? You see each side of how people could cope with these type of things that they see on a very regular basis.
Yeah.
So I think it was really a good idea to have this point of view of the photojournalist, also to shine a light on, this is a real job and people are out there.
It is a real job and people die.
Yeah.
And they were not afraid to show us that.
They were not, no.
And that's something that is hard to process and to see. And like, we even see these characters have to process that too in real time.
Yeah.
And as people are getting killed, friends are getting killed.
And I think that's what made this so impactful for me is that I've seen a lot of war movies growing up, and a lot of it is like at a point it's just you just get numb to it because you're seeing so many people die on the screen, right?
Right.
And here, like you can see the impact and like the way the group processes things that have passed to them, and like it's just like so gripping, and you feel like you're also going through that. So
I want to talk about the environment. So we talked a little bit about the story and the character, but let's talk a little bit about the setting.
Okay.
Because I thought it was so disturbing. Sometimes we would come across environments that were so normal, so nonchalant, like
like if nothing was
like if
happening.
nothing was happening. People were just walking the streets, like shopping, and I was just equally as disturbed as the characters to see that, right? Because there are people out there who do the same. Then you have the other side where there's folks who go deep into this, and you see like these evil
you
would
say like extremists, right?
Thank you. Yes, they're evil people who take advantage of the situation and have fun with it, and that's gross.
Yeah,
it was so gross.
It was definitely disturbing. I mean, I'm sure like many of you, when you saw Jesse Plemons, aka Meth Damon, on the trailer, you knew what that character was going to be, and yeah. Yeah. So I think that, in my honest opinion, it was probably like the most nervous I had been throughout the movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like we also have to talk about the how I see it, maybe like the fourth character of this movie, and it's the photos themselves. There's so many instances where you're being shown the picture that the photographers are capturing, and they're just wow, like they're brutal.
But they're also composed beautifully. Like, and that's what those photographers, they know when they have a great shot, because it's not just about what they're capturing, but what it depicts and the emotions it's gonna, it's gonna provoke on people. And yeah, those photos, some of them were sad, some of them were disturbing again, like just hard, to grasp.
Yeah.
While others, there were certain moments where Jesse was taking photos
of Lee.
Of Lee, thank you. And I'm like, wow, like she's beautiful, and she's taking photos of the people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's a new way of looking at these folks. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because for sure that's the other total main character of this movie.
It definitely drives a lot of things home. I think they did a fantastic like sound mix.
I was gonna say the next thing I want to talk about was the music.
Yeah, it's just there's some instances where it's like just quiet and you just hear what's going around in the background, and that's fucking crazy. There's also some great sequences where you see the people processing, and all you hear is just the helicopters, because it's you're in the middle of like a war zone, so nothing's stopping, no matter what's going on. Like, you could have seen the worst thing that's happening in your life, but they don't care. They got to keep moving, They
got to keep moving, and you hear the bombs, you hear the bullets, you hear the cannons, and then you get the opposite end where you're surrounded by this kind of like camp, like this kind of it's just almost like a refugee camp in a way.
Yeah.
But it has a very lighthearted vibe. There's people laughing, there's people dancing, there's like playing going on, and I'm so glad that there's like that contrast, right, of both environments. So I will say that the music, there were certain moments where I thought were really random. Moving on from music to camera work, I really, really enjoyed some of the earlier reflection camera work. Like the first scene, there was a reflection moment there where I was like, oh, that's cool. And I kept seeing here and there some reflection shots, and I'm like, that's really cool. Besides that, I think there was some really nice like close-ups and some mirror shots. Okay, I keep going to the reflection ones because they stuck reflection with me. I really do. One of the moments that comes to mind is when Lee's in that store and she's looking at herself in the mirror, and the camera wasn't necessarily amazing or anything. We were looking at her from behind, but the moment like seeing her face and like as she's staring at herself in the mirror and we see kind of the different angles of her, I felt like I was learning a bit more about her through that shot where she's like remembering, like, oh shit, I can actually look like a lady. I can actually wear a nice dress. Like, she's probably thinking, like, this could have been me, but I'm doing this. So there were certain moments like that where I think the camera did a very nice shot in showing us the characters' like emotions and their facial expressions to help us connect with them.
I definitely had a great time coming out to watch Civil War.
Me too. It's not your typical war movie. Like,
no.
I don't think if you want to come out and watch Civil War, the trailers definitely depict it as a war movie, but I think you got to pay attention to who they're following in those trailers, which they don't give us much about. But when you start watching this movie, you definitely understand who you're following, what it's about. It's really about these military photographers and journalists. And kudos to that, because that profession isn't shown as they should,
Yeah.
And I don't think they're cared for as they should either. So, Civil War, good movie.
Yeah, darling. What's your rating right after watching Civil War? What are you feeling? We just got
out of the theater, just sitting in the car. Wow, I feel like this is a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. We really talked about everything that we liked, and there was very little things that I didn't like. So, Civil War, good movie to go out, watch it in the theaters. It's an A24 movie, and they've been coming out with some hits.
They're very consistent, man.
They are. Yeah. They are very consistent, and there's more A24 movies coming out. So we're definitely going to look out for them and come out to the theaters and watch them the best we can, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're doing a pretty good job. I really appreciate you coming out with me tonight, darling. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful night.
It was a very nice day.
With a way to wrap it up with a very good movie.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. If you like this movie review, or if you like these type of videos, definitely give us a thumbs up. And if you saw Civil War, let us know in the comments, because we'd really like to hear what you thought about it.
Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Subscribe to our channel, because we want to make more friends on here and talk movies with y'all. Definitely keep your notifications on for our channel so you can see when our next movie review is coming out.
Yep.
And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for talking movies with us. Bye.
Bye.